Good morning, welcome to Little by Little, a short time in God's Word. Today, February 13th, we've got Exodus 37 to 39. Let's jump right in as we continue to look and read about the ark and the fashions and the fashionings and the things necessary for the tabernacle. That's what's going on here in 37, 38, all the way into 39, where it's talking about the priestly garments. And so they had an order to it. They had specific things that needed to be done. Let's go down to chapter 39 and verse 32. As you read through something like this, you can go, well, okay, that doesn't really apply to me a whole lot. Because, we're not going to make our church, look like this, or, we don't have to have all this in and for our lives, right? Like, that's all true. So how do we deal with something like these kinds of chapters in the Bible? Do we just say, oh, doesn't matter? Or do we go, it tells us God's really interested in the details and in the people following through on God's instructions. So chapter 39, verse 32, thus all the works of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting were finished, and the people of Israel did according to all the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. It's just a simple little phrase that really even starts to creep into tomorrow's reading. But I think it helps us, because as you read through it and you go, man, that's a lot. Maybe verse 30 of chapter 39 will help. They made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving of a signet, holy to the Lord. They tied it to a cord of blue to fasten it to the turban above, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And so that's going on the priest, and it's all the different clothes and articles that go in the tabernacle. And God had specific ways in which all these things were to be done. And so I think what we have to do is we have to recognize that God was doing all this so that there would be that visible representation of God on earth. So they had some idea that there was something holy and separate about who God is. Right? The tabernacle wasn't God. God couldn't be contained by a tabernacle or later in a temple or in a church. Right? Any of those things we know. So why did he care what it all looked like? Because God knows the hearts of people. And so by giving these kinds of instructions and these kind of directions and detail, he allows people to use the gifts they've been given to accomplish the things God desires. And then it helps people as they come to worship to go, okay, this is different. This isn't just coming to the corner store, right? This is going to God's house. And God's ordained this. This is where God is. And there's something special about that. And so, many of our churches now are a lot more modern, and we're a lot more casual in how we go about things and in our dress and all those things. We should never lose that sense of God's purposes in and for our life, God's holiness, and God's exactness to follow his word. Because this was his word, and it's still his word. And so they were to follow that. Just as we read it, we go, okay, well, I'm not supposed to follow all this because I don't need to make a burnt offering. So again, what's the whole point for me? Well, maybe it's simply interest. Yeah, it's got to be more than just interest, right? Like, it's got to be more that God's into details and that he was instructing things and he wanted the people to follow exactly. Maybe something like that. Till next time, keep growing little by little.